know, you wouldn't put the Texans at 4-13. So here's the thing: Davis Mills is. I don't think he's bad. I mean, he's still bottom, like probably 7 in the league.
Yeah.
But he's not like absolutely abysmal. But in this division, he's probably the worst quarterback. And around them, they probably have the worst supporting staff.
I would think
so. I think Lovie Smith, he's been around the game, but let's not act like he's a world beater at coach.
No.
Outside of Brandon Cook, the receiving staff, the receiving core is pretty weak. The offensive line's weak. The running game is decent. And they have some piece in the secondary, some young pieces. None that I think are going to be top 10 right now. So I think overall their defense really mediocre, and their offense is, I would say, bad.
Yeah, there's not many bright spots on the team in general, and they seem to be the center of noise in the NFL.
All the time.
Especially with the Deshaun thing that came out and their involvement and everything that never really got fully brought to light, but it's still there. You know that there's rumblings of it going through the halls wherever the Texans are at. It's going to follow them.
Yep.
So just for that reason, I mean, it's really tough to think that they're going to be able to string together a long line of success when you have so much instability in-house. Right. You got to take care of that first before you go out. I mean, because they're going to be competing through 2 pretty tough teams. And
I agree.
Their whole schedule's tough. Let's just call it that.
Yeah. And I think even the next team here, which is the Jags, we have them about 6-11. I think they're a much better football team than Houston. And look, the Jags might be one of the most improved teams in the league this year. They were just so bad that 6-11 is improved.
Yes.
I think this is probably their last year where they are this bad, and I think next year, if they keep moving in the right direction, like looking at their trend line, they should be somewhere around 8-9, 9-8 next year. Yeah. This year, I think 6-11 feels right. I think Trevor Lawrence is probably gonna have his a pretty decent year. Much improved. His first Doug Peterson's a pretty good coach.
Yeah, his first drama-free year too, without Urban Meyer kind of stirring things up, because he was really the main catalyst that stirred the pot. I mean, he was probably the center of almost all the locker room issues.
I agree. And I mean, you look at the team that spends the most money in free agency, they always end up improving by about 3 to 4 wins, right? So they had 3 wins last year. So it's not crazy to say that hey, they could probably move up to about 6 here, 6-11.
And we know how talented Trevor Lawrence is. Right. It's just a matter of when he's going to turn it on.
Right, and my issue is their offensive line is pretty bad and their secondary is weak. So in a league where you need to pass the football, they're not going to have the protection to give Trevor Lawrence time, and they don't have anybody to really stop the passing attack. So that's why I have them here at 6-11. But the roster is improving, and so this is an optimistic 6-11 here for the Jags. All right, at number 2. I think the Titans take a step back. Losing A.J. Brown, I think A.J. Brown's a top 10 receiver, probably even closer to 5 than 10. I think he uses his frame really, really well. Yards after the catch is astonishing for a guy that big. He moves really well. He goes up and gets 50-50 footballs better than almost anybody in the league, and they don't have him. And they're very, very Derrick Henry reliant. Yeah. If he goes out, I'm not sure. And he went out last year, and somehow they got the 1 seed, but you had A.J. Brown. You know what I mean? So this year you don't have A.J. Brown. I mean, Tannehill's been good. Do we expect him to keep, at this pace? Like, he's not a very consistent quarterback. And
this is the thing. I mean, sure, Ryan Tannehill's decent. He's a very serviceable quarterback, and he's shown flashes of being really good.
Yeah.
But the stats without his number 1 target, no matter who it is, if it's A.J. Brown, no matter who his number 1 target is, when he loses them or doesn't have them, the stats take a big drop-off. Right. So relying solely on a running back is really not the way to go. It's one of the most, I'd say, positions where you're liable to get injured, because you're getting hit all the time by grown men that are 350 pounds and
can run like
it can run like a deer, run 4.4 40 and still be 6'7", 320 and be.
It's ridiculous at this point. Yeah, no, I agree. And Tennessee's secondary is pretty weak. Outside of Kevin Byard, they don't really have anybody in the secondary. Pass rush is decent, but still not to the point where it could make up for the secondary. So to me, they feel like a very 500-ish team. 8-9, 9-8, somewhere around there.
And I think Vrabel has a lot to do with why they even get to 8-9, 9-8.
Yeah, I think Vrabel's a really good coach.
From the Belichick tree, he'll get that defense ready to play for sure.
Yeah, I agree. All right, let's go with number 1. That leaves the Indianapolis Colts at 10-7. So they were on the verge of making the playoffs last year. And people always want to say, "Oh, Carson Wentz this, Carson Wentz that." Carson Wentz has 27 touchdowns, 7 picks. But with that being said, the time of his interceptions was costly, right? And so what's going to happen now is you now have a veteran quarterback, Matt Ryan. When those picks are thrown, is going to look a lot different, right? It's not going to be fourth quarter spinning around in the end zone, flinging one.
Yeah.
That's going to be a pick, right? You're going to see a lot more maturity out of the position. He's going to be, not super creative, right? He's going to hit the third step in his drop, get the ball out. It's going to be accurate. It's going to be on time. Might not be beautiful, might not be dynamic, but it's going to be on time. It's going to be professional. It's going to be accurate, and that's kind of what they need because they have a good running attack. I don't love their receivers outside of their top two.
Yeah.
But I do like Alec Pierce. I like Michael Pittman. We'll see from there. But their defense, I think, is what's going to be special. I think they have guys at all three levels. They go out and get Stephon Gilmore in the secondary. You got Kenny Moore in the secondary. Darius Leonard at linebacker. Their pass rush, you got Kwity Paye. The guy from San Francisco, I'm blanking on his name. They got a decent pass rush.
Yeah.
So they should be fine on defense. And I think their offense is going to be good enough to win this division because it's kind of dysfunctional. About 10-7, they'll probably be the fourth seed in the AFC, I think.
Yeah, the thing that just confuses me, though, is why does everybody look down on Matt Ryan so much? People forget, he's the best statistical quarterback in the NFL since 2012. In completion percentage,
passing yards for sure, I think.
Passing yards, and there's another category. It might be yards per attempt, something like that.
Yeah.
It's something in there. He leads in 3 or 4 categories and qualifies as at least a top 3 statistical quarterback of
the last probably 10 years.
Decade-ish. Yeah. He's a really good quarterback, and he's kind of been stuck in Atlanta and been stuck with what he's had.
Right, he's somewhere between the 10th and... No, not 10th. He's probably somewhere between the 12th and 16th best quarterback, right?
Yeah.
I think that can win you a playoff game.
Yep.
I think they can get you to the playoffs, certainly, and you can vie for a playoff win, especially with the surrounding cast.
For sure.
I agree. So to kind of run back through there, we got the Texans at 4-13, the Jags at 6-11, the Titans at 8-9, and finally the Colts at 10-7. Let's go ahead and get into our superlatives. We'll start